I mean, look, I'm not a big fan of the Nintendo 64. I never have been. I'm also not a virgin. Is it a coincidence? Who knows? I don't know. Don't ask me. Oh, hey guys, it's Voltar here, and today we're going to be taking a visit back to the PlayStation 1 because we're also going to be revisiting the xStation. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with this device, it's an optical drive replacement for the PS1. Now, this device gives damn near flawless compatibility and excellent support for the creator. Great product. It is my optical drive emulator of choice for the PS1. You load your games onto an SD card. It's fantastic. Now, I've done a video on this system before, and I've done a video on the xStation before, but I feel like we can go into a little more detail because I've had a lot of comments from people who were asking me to really get involved and really get into some of the procedures of installing this kit. It's not necessarily easy. We have to lift very specific and very delicate pins on the DSP processor for the CD-ROM controller of the PlayStation 1, and it's not exactly a walk in the park if you don't know what you're doing. So we're going to do an in-depth, from start to finish, installation video of this system. In addition to that, we're also going to be installing Greg Collins of Laser Bear Industry fame, his wonderful, absolutely fantastic drive plastic Unitarian filling module. It's just a nice, wonderful mount for the xStation that gives you a full SD card, and it takes place over the PlayStation's optical drive because we'll be removing that. Now, I also offer this as an installation service on my website, so if you're not feeling too confident in this, I can do it for you. And in addition to that, if you don't buy this mount from Greg, I offer it as an option in my store. So if you want me to install it, you can get it from me there too. Having said that, sit back, strap on, and let's install the real winner of the Nintendo 64 versus PlayStation console wars. God, I hate that system. Now, before we get started, it's important to understand that the xStation is only compatible with the 1000 series as well as the 5500 series. That is why the xStation is including two different quick solder boards that you can use, depending on your model. How do you determine that? Flip your PlayStation around, look at the bottom, and investigate the sticker. Now, this is clearly an SCPH-5500 series. That simply means we'll be using the 5500 series QSP. So this is what we'll be using. We'll put the 1000 series QSP away. We'll not be using it. And this could change over time, so be sure to follow and at least look at the documentation for the xStation. Okay, let's take this bad boy apart, let's zip these screws out, and let's get to work. Okay, that's all of our screws. Let's just take the top off. Now let's go ahead and remove the optical drive because we have to remove this RF plate right here. Just a few screws left to hold this in. We'll take those out and we'll pop the plate right off. Now, typically what I like to do is I like to just grab a hold of this port right here with one of my fingers of my left hand, and then with my right hand, I just come right in here in the corner, I grab the plate, and I just start separating very carefully, just like that. Now let's zip these remaining screws out so we can liberate the main board from the actual housing. Now all the screws are removed, so we can remove this main board and we can free it and work with it directly. I like to start by just coming up here to the expansion port, grabbing the expansion port, and very carefully lifting out on this corner and removing the board that way. Now our main board is nice and free, and rather than starting with the pins that we have to isolate, which is on the DSP chip right here, I thought we would just go ahead, turn this over, and quickly solder in our QSP. It's the easiest part of this process. So let's just zoom in, let's talk about the preparation work necessary, and let's install that quick solder board so we can get on to the more harder and complicated procedures. Now with the PS1 mainboard flipped over and looking at the bottom, you want to orient the expansion port so it's in the top left hand corner, and right down here under this chip where you see this big solder pad right here, this is basically approximately where our QSB is going to live. So we're going to zoom into this section right here, and we're going to talk about the prep work, and we're going to install our QSB. Let's do it. Now lining up the QSB is really not a big deal. What you want to first do is you want to find on the 55,000 series this large fat pad right here. This pad is the first pad you really want to start aligning. And you do that by simply bringing in your QSB just like this, and you're going to line it up with that big fat juicy soldering pad right there. As you can see right here, we've got a pretty good alignment. Now from that point, you're just sort of going to massage this in, and you're going to work in one corner. Now I'm going to look around a little bit here just to see if I've got pretty good alignment, and as you can see all these little vias here and all these little open castellated edges like this, it's pretty close. Now keep in mind, you're never going to get this perfect. The tolerances on this are a little bit loose, but that does not matter. This is super easy. And you don't have to solder anything in at once. Just do a dry run. Everything here looks pretty good. I'm just going to move this to the side, and we're going to do a few little things that we have to do for prep work. Now we've got some vias here that are tinted. The solder resist is pulled over, and there's some lacquer. Now we can't solder to these directly without prepping them. What we're going to do is we're going to zoom in, and we're just going to take a really simple tool, even like a pair of tweezers, and we're going to very lightly take the coating off of this via. As you can see, it lines up here. We'll take that tint off of this one, and we'll come right over here, line it up once again so we can see. Very good, and very obviously here, we're going to have to take the solder resist off of this little via right here. So we'll take the resist off that so we can solder to those 2 points. Let's zoom in, and let's just lightly and gently scrape it away. Now we've done all of the prep work necessary for the QSB. Let's go ahead and line it up just as I showed you before. We'll line it up, we'll tack it into place, we'll make some fine adjustments, and that'll be that. Let's start right up here in the left-hand corner with that big fat solder pad. Now to help this go a little bit easier, I'm going to use some no clean liquid flux, and I'm also going to preload my tip just like this. With a nice, generous bead of solder just like that. We're in good shape. Okay. I want to go ahead and bring my no clean flux right in there just like that, flux it up just a bit, and I'm going to begin by lining up this first part, only this first part. Make sure everything looks pretty good around it, like this little via here. Everything looks pretty good. I'll bring it over just a little bit more, a little bit down. I'm going to hold this here, and I'm going to look over to the right at these other vias. We need to come down just a bit here. That's in pretty good shape. That's in pretty good shape. That's in pretty good shape. Okay, let's go ahead and just try to knock this in just a little bit. So here we go. We've already flexed it. We've preloaded our tip. I want to come in there and just make contact just like that. Now that's not a strong joint, and that's not a finished joint. That's just going to free my hands so I can move and manipulate this part. Now we're going to evaluate our alignment one more time. This looks pretty good. All this down here looks fantastic. Once again, our alignment down here is just fine, no problems. We're in good shape. So now that we've done that, we're going to come over here to the via that we had to clean up and prep to remove that solder resist from. I'm going to go ahead and just put a little flux on there just like that. Now watch this. I'm going to align my component just like that. I'm going to align our flex, or not our flex, excuse me, our QSB just like that. And I'm going to make contact once more. Just like that. Now once again, not a clean joint, not a strong joint, but it's structurally going to hold this together as I come in here now and do a final assessment of all of our alignment. Everything here is looking fantastic. Remember, it's never going to be precise, but it doesn't have to be. Now that I've done this, I have my both hands free. I can go ahead and load up my tip just like this. Load it up once more with nice, clean, fresh solder, and we can get to work. Fantastic work. Now take this opportunity to go ahead and just review all of your soldering joints, make sure they're nice and clean, and also if you want, take this opportunity to clean off any flux that's left over. Great. The QSP is installed, it's ready to go. There's only one thing left to do. We need to solder up this pad here, and we also need to remove a little resistor right over here that knocks this oscillator out of circuit. Okay, let's remove this, and we'll connect a wire from a point here to over here. Let's get it going. Fantastic work, guys. We're all finished. The only thing remaining is to take our FFC cable, plug it in with the blue tab up, and we'll get ready to move some pins. Now this is the part where we introduce the real showstopper, keeping a lot of people from installing this mod. IC701 right here requires us to lift and isolate several pins on this densely packed quad flat pack surface mount chip. Now I want to show you some techniques that will hopefully make this easy for you. And the first thing that I'm going to talk about is the tool that I recommend using. Now an X-Acto knife is fantastic, you can do a lot with that, but if you want a little easier way to go, I'm going to use just a very generic, very simple dental pick. Yes, you can get these off Amazon or eBay for dollars on the dollar. Whatever the hell that's supposed to mean. At any rate, they're cheap, inexpensive, and very effective. Now there's a technique that I like to use here, and it's very simple. I'm going to teach it to you. I want to explain it first. Basically, we're going to put heat on the pad, not on the leg, but on the pad. And once we introduce heat to the pad, we'll then use this tool, leverage it in between the pins, kind of like in a manner very similar to this. Just like this, and we're just going to lift and isolate up. Let's zoom in nice and tight. Let's go over the technique several times. You're going to see it here very, very in depth. Now we've zoomed in super nice and tight. And the pins that we have to remove or isolate per the documentation are 80, 78, 77, and 74. Now, here's the technique. Before I put any heat onto this pin with my soldering iron, and this is what I mean by pad and not pin, we're not coming in contact with the pin, we're only coming in contact with the pad, just like that. But before we do that, we are going to position our tool into place just like this. Now we're not putting any pressure, as you can see it's very loose. Our tool is in position, we have it leveraged beautifully. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply heat to the pad. Once again, to the pad. Once the pad is heated, this leg will very liberally move. So watch this. Apply heat to the pad, heat goes on the pad, transfers to the pin. Watch this. 1, 2, 3, nice and easy. Leverage it out. Just like that. Perfect isolation. So we'll just go ahead and clean that pad up just a little bit, and we'll move on down the line. Let's see, what's the next pin? I think it's 78. So that was 80, 79, 78 is right here. Now watch this. Get right in there like that. We've leveraged beautifully. Apply the heat to the pad, not the pin, to the pad, and once again, just like that, nice and easy, fully liberated. Now we'll just take our tool and we'll just very carefully lift it up just like that. And if you've got it lifted up enough, you can just take a finger, and this may go a little bit out of focus, but watch this, take your finger, just move it out of the way. You can either put it to the heavens, you can either put a piece of Kapton tape here to isolate it. I don't care about that, so I'm just going to lift these up, just like so. And get them out of the way, just like that. Okay, let's keep going.
September 28th, daylight. The monsters have overtaken the city. Somehow, I'm still alive.
Job well done, guys. Remember, you can either lift these pins up if you don't care to ever restore the original optical drive functionality, or you can just leave them slightly floating and perhaps put a nice layer of Kapton tape on the bottom. I'm not interested in doing that. We're replacing this optical drive for a very specific reason. That's it. That's the hard part. I hope those tips help. Let's continue putting this bad boy together. Now, believe it or not, we're ready to put this thing back together. So let's put the main board back in, let's button it up, and let's install our nice xStation mount. Now, this is very important, and it's something to be mindful of. When you're putting the RF shield back on, make sure your ribbon cable fits in this little slit right here before you button it all down. So go ahead and pass that through and bring this down and connect it all up. Okay guys, we are now ready to connect our xStation, and what we're going to do is we're going to take these white jumpers that came with the xStation and we're going to simply plug them in these two holes just like that. That's all it takes. Now we are going to take our ribbon cable and we are going to gently bring it over and not crease it, but very slightly fold it as it passes beyond this standoff for the optical drive. So just like this, just bring it forward, then bring it to the right to you with the blue label facing up just like that, and put a nice, not a super sharp fold, not a super sharp crease, but just so that it has a memory, so it'll stay in this position. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to take our mount that was included here with this kit, and we're going to install it with the xStation. Let's do it. Now, installing the xStation's 3D printed mount can be a little tricky if you've never done it before, so follow me very carefully. We're just going to take the mount and we're going to take the micro SD side. Now watch this. I'm going to pick up the xStation and I'm very carefully going to just insert it very loosely and gently seat it in position just like that. Now I'm going to take the ribbon cable and I'm going to fold it under just like that. Drop the kit with the other hand and watch this. I'm going to come in here, I'm just going to fold it over just like that, just like this. That's all it is. Now we'll go ahead and we'll seat the kit back onto the little standoffs that are for the optical drive, just like that. That's seated. Now I'm going to take our kit, our 3D printed part, and I'm just going to lay it over the optical just like that. That's all it is. Let's go ahead and pop the top on and let's test this bad boy to see if it's working. Now we have a freshly formatted SD card. We're ready to go. I've got the software loaded. We have an ISO on here. Let's see what happens. Now we've got our menu here, which is pretty self-explanatory, pretty basic. You can do a lot of things here. You can do a fast load. You can do a full load. It's actually pretty darn quick. It's actually a lot quicker than the SIO. If you guys have seen that video that I made a few years ago, in my opinion, the xStation is a much better product. Better compatibility by far. But nonetheless, as you can see, we've loaded up here, and this is Dino Crisis. I don't know if you guys have ever played this game, but it's quite good. Not much to really say here other than that it works. It's fantastic. This is my personal optical drive emulator of choice for the PS1. I think it's absolutely the best. And you have to love Dino Crisis and this generic GUI that people were supposed to actually believe existed, but then again everything was about New Age stuff, and of course Dino Crisis really sort of played on the sciencey stuff that was really popular at the time. So it works, and it works great.
Is Dr. Kirk, the leading authority of our nation's energy research.
Well guys, we're all done. Now this PlayStation has been fitted with the xStation. We've got our mount in there, nice full-sized SD card ready to go. We're all set. I hope this video was helpful. I know that a lot of you, even after I did the PS1 2020 mod video with the xStation install, were still having trouble with the actual procedure of lifting those pins. I hope that this video really outlined an easy to follow technique that you can employ to do your own xStation installation. And of course, if you can't, come to me. If you're in the United States, I'll offer this as a service. I include the 3D printed kit as an option if you want that. And also, the xStation is available at Castlemania Games. Ryan Schletzer is a good guy. He's a great asset to the community, and he sells top-notch products. Go there and get one while you still can. Now, I hope this was helpful. I hope you guys have a good time doing this. Let's help each other, let's learn together, and let's always have a good time modding our systems. And if you haven't done it already, consider liking and subscribing to my channel. I'm back, Mother Effers, and I'm not going anywhere. Check you next time.